You don't have to overhaul your life to change it. You just have to interrupt the old pattern and repeat the new one enough times that your brain starts to believe you. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. And when your actions begin to align with your identity, even in the smallest ways, you don't just change your behavior. You change who you believe yourself to be. Welcome to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, where we explore the keys to unlocking your full potential and living your best life. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. Whether you're looking to make a breakthrough, overcome a challenge, or simply live with greater clarity, joy, and purpose, you'll find the tools and inspirations you need right here. So let's start your journey towards personal mastery and growth right now. Welcome back to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, your go-to resource for practical tips, insightful research, and inspiring stories to help you unlock your full potential. I'm your host, Jose Johnson, and I'm an expert in the fields of mindfulness, mindset, and peak performance, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. And in today's episode, we're diving into a concept that can radically change your approach to growth and transformation. Because here's something that most people miss. Big changes rarely begin with big moves. They start with small shifts, moments of choice that happen in quiet spaces. So today we're exploring the power of micro shifts, those small, intentional actions that might seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they rewire your mindset, your identity, and your life. If you've ever felt like change has to be dramatic to be effective, if you've burned out chasing breakthroughs, or if you've ever asked yourself, why can't I seem to stick with anything? Well, this episode is going to give you a whole new perspective and a much more sustainable path forward. So let's get started by getting clear on what a micro shift actually is. A micro shift is a small intentional adjustment in how you think, act, or respond, usually taking no more than a few seconds or minutes. But here's the key. These shifts are aligned with your future identity. They're not about reacting. They're about realigning. So let's take a few real-life examples. You feel anxious and you want to scroll your phone, but instead you pause and take 3 slow breaths. You wake up tired and you want to skip your morning routine, but you decide to drink a glass of water and write 1 line in your journal. You get feedback that stings, and instead of defending yourself, you say, "Thanks for sharing. I'll sit with it." You hear your inner critic say, "You're not ready," and you respond out loud with, "Maybe not yet, but I'm learning." Now, these are not giant leaps, but each one is a signal to your brain. We don't do things the old way anymore. We're becoming someone new. That's a micro shift. And the reason that these matter so much is because they compound. You don't need a 2-hour routine, a silent retreat, or a perfect plan to grow. You just need to consistently make aligned choices in small moments that usually go unnoticed. I often remind my coaching clients, your transformation doesn't live in the grand gestures. It lives in your next decision. That's where the power is. And that's where momentum is born. All right, so let's connect this with the science, because micro shifts aren't just a feel-good strategy. They're a brain-backed blueprint for real change. So let's start by talking about neuroplasticity. Your brain is a living system. It's always adapting to the input you give it, your thoughts, your behavior, your emotions, your environment. Every time you repeat a thought or behavior, your brain strengthens the connections associated with it, kind of like reinforcing a trail through the woods. The more you walk that path, the more well-worn it becomes, and the easier it is to follow the next time. So when you make a small conscious shift, like catching a negative thought and reframing it, you're literally reinforcing a new path in your brain. Even something as small as pausing before you speak, or choosing a breath instead of a reaction begins to shift how your nervous system processes stimuli. And here's what's exciting. Microshifts are the most effective way to engage neuroplasticity because they're repeatable. Unlike dramatic transformations that your nervous system might reject or fear, microshifts fly under the radar of your resistance. Dr. B.J. Fogg from Stanford's Behavior Design Lab is famous for his work on tiny habits. He found that doing something as simple as one push-up a day or flossing a single tooth was more effective in creating lasting change than trying to overhaul an entire routine. Why? Because success breeds success. These small wins trigger dopamine. That's the brain's reward chemical. And that positive feedback loop creates motivation, not from pressure, but from progress. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, talks about this too. He says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person that you wish to become. It's not about intensity. It's about identity. When you choose a microshift, you're not just changing behavior. You're voting for your future self. So how do you know if you're bypassing the power of microshifts? Well, often the sign is subtle frustration. You're working hard, but you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. You start to believe that maybe you're just not cut out for growth. But what's really happening is this. You've been taught to chase breakthroughs instead of building momentum. So here are some signs that you might be stuck in an all-or-nothing mindset and missing the quiet power of small steps. Number 1, you only feel like you're succeeding when you've done everything perfectly. If a missed workout or one skip meditation makes you feel like the whole day or week is ruined, well, you're relying too much on performance and not enough on progress. Number 2, you constantly delay action. You wait for the perfect time, the perfect place, the right mood. But growth isn't waiting for the stars to align. It's waiting for you to take the next smallest step. Number 3, you mentally cancel out your efforts. You eat a healthy breakfast, but beat yourself up for the cookie at lunch. You journaled this morning, but since you didn't do the full routine, you say it doesn't count. That mindset turns effort into evidence of failure instead of success. Number 4, you're obsessed with breakthroughs. You want the big moment, the insight, the emotional shift, the overnight success, but you're skipping the groundwork. The micro shifts are the foundation that those breakthroughs are built on. And number 5, you've internalized the lie that small equals weak. Maybe someone once told you, go big or go home. But what if the real power is in going small, consistently, until home becomes a place of strength? Let me tell you something I've seen in my years of coaching. The people who experience the most lasting change aren't the ones who do everything at once. They're the ones who do the small things, repeatedly, patiently, imperfectly, until the new behavior feels like home. Hey, if you're enjoying this episode and you're ready to take your growth to the next level, check out my online course, The Mindset Makeover. It's a step-by-step system to help you identify the beliefs that are holding you back and replace them with the mindsets that you need to thrive. You'll get tools, guided exercises, and a clear path forward, whether you're stuck, starting over, or just ready to level up. Learn more and enroll now at josejohnson.com/mindset, because real change starts from the inside out. All right, it's time to get tactical. Here are 7 microshifts that are designed to bypass resistance, strengthen new neural pathways, and help you make your future self feel familiar, one choice at a time. They're small, but they're not trivial. In fact, the brain responds best to these subtle cues because they're repeatable, emotionally safe, and identity reinforcing. Number 1, the morning intention check-in. Before you touch your phone, check your email, or talk to anyone else, pause. Place a hand on your heart, take a breath, and ask, who do I want to be today? This is not about your to-do list. It's your to-be list. Maybe today you want to be more grounded, more bold, more curious, more kind. Whatever it is, naming it puts it in your brain's reticular activating system to work. That's the internal filter that decides what information to notice and what to ignore. When you begin your day with intention, that intention becomes the compass that orients your behavior. It doesn't take any more than 30 seconds, but it can redirect the entire trajectory of your day. Number 2, the thought reframe practice. Catching a limiting belief is a win in itself, but here's how to turn that awareness into a shift. When you hear the inner critic say things like, you're not good at this, or you always mess things up, take a breath and follow it with, and what else could be true? Maybe, I've struggled with this before, but I'm learning. I've overcome harder things than this. I'm still showing up, and that matters. Now, this practice rewires cognitive bias. Instead of defaulting to black and white, all or nothing thinking, you train your brain towards cognitive flexibility, which is a key predictor of emotional resilience and long-term success. Even if the new belief doesn't feel totally true yet, the act of questioning your inner dialogue breaks the trance of limitation. Number 3, the one-line journal. You don't need 30 minutes, a fancy notebook, or a perfect prompt. All you need to do is grab a piece of paper or open your notes app and answer one of these questions. What did I notice about myself today? What's one thing I did well? What felt hard, but I showed up anyway? This activates your prefrontal cortex and improves self-regulation. It also builds what psychologists call narrative identity, your evolving understanding of who you are and how you're growing. And here's the secret. When you do this every day, even with one line, it stacks into something powerful. You start to see patterns. You start to trust your process. You start to appreciate your own evolution. And it takes less than a minute. All right, number 4, the 1-minute win. When you feel overwhelmed, stuck, or paralyzed by your to-do list, try this. Ask yourself, what's one meaningful thing that I can do in the next 60 seconds? Maybe it's to start responding to a message you've been avoiding, or putting away a part of the pile of laundry, sending a calendar invite, drinking a glass of water, organizing your workspace. This taps into what's known as the Zeigarnik effect, and that relates to your brain's desire to resolve unfinished tasks. Completing even one tiny action creates relief, clarity, and a surge of momentum. It shifts you out of paralysis and into motion. And motion is where confidence begins. Number 5, the environmental anchor. Your surroundings, they speak to your subconscious. Every object in your space either reinforces who you were or it reminds you of who you're becoming. So pick one item that reflects your future self, something that resonates with your goals, your identity, or values. This could be something like a sticky note with an empowering mantra, a vision board, a photo of someone who inspires you, or a crystal or candle or some other type of symbolic object. Just place it where you'll see it frequently, on your desk, by your mirror. Each time you see it, you interrupt the trance of autopilot and send your brain a subtle message. This is what we're about now. Number 6, the future self micro-action. When you're at a crossroads, big or small, pause and ask, what would the version of me I'm becoming do right now? Not the exhausted version, not the afraid version, the elevated version. Then act accordingly. But here's the trick. Shrink the action down to a winnable size. Future you, well, they might want to write a book. So you can open the doc and write one paragraph. Future you might want to be a world-class speaker. Well, you can practice your intro in the mirror. Future you might want to set better boundaries. Well, you can just start with one honest sentence today. This keeps you in alignment with your highest identity without waiting for perfect conditions. It builds integrity-based momentum, which is one of the strongest drivers of our confidence. Number 7, the 90-second reset. Sometimes you don't need to push harder. You need to pause on purpose. So here's the practice. Close your eyes, plant your feet on the floor, inhale deeply through your nose, hold it gently, and then exhale as slowly as possible through your mouth. And just repeat this for about 90 seconds. Now, this taps into research from Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, who found that it takes about 90 seconds for a triggered emotion to run its course through the nervous system, as long as we don't feeding it with additional thoughts. So this isn't about fixing yourself. It's about giving your body a chance to regulate, so your next move comes from clarity, not chaos. The 90-second reset is a return to center, and that's a form of power. So here's your challenge for this week. I want to challenge you to do something deceptively simple. Pick one micro shift and commit to it for 7 days. That's it. Not 7 goals, not a whole routine. Just one small action that you can repeat daily. Maybe it's one intention each morning, or one breath before reacting, one empowering thought rewrite, 1 minute of meaningful movement, one self-kindness statement at bedtime. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is repetition. Because every time you follow through on that tiny commitment, you're telling your brain, this is who I am now. And if you're not sure where to start, if you want to know what mindset you're currently operating from and where your biggest leverage points for change are, well, I've created a free mindset assessment, and you can take it at josejohnson.com/mindset. It'll show you the dominant thought patterns that you're running and help you get clear on which ones are due for an upgrade. All right, so in closing, let me leave you with this. You don't have to overhaul your life to change it. You just have to interrupt the old pattern and repeat the new one enough times that your brain starts to believe you. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. And when your actions begin to align with your identity, even in the smallest ways, you don't just change your behavior. You change who you believe yourself to be. So the next time you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or tempted to quit, remember, you're one micro shift away from momentum. All right, so thanks for joining me on the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast. If this episode helped you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or just share with someone who's on their own growth journey. So stay grounded, stay growing, and keep showing up for the life that you're meant to live. And remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Thanks for tuning in. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice or treatment. While the content of this podcast is based on research and personal experience, everyone's situation is unique, and the advice given may not be applicable to all. Always consult a qualified professional before making significant changes in your life. The Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast is recorded at the So Good Media Studios, located in the Candy Factory, a co-working space in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.